So really what it is, we want to learn more about their individual areas, and we're going to ask them to provide some updates on what is happening in their specific regions. So with that said, I'll start with Trustee Rose Benavidez, if you can give us an update on Starr County and what's happening in the great area over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to South Texas College. I know you have an official welcome this morning, but it's so great to see a packed room of partners and vested individuals in the work that the college and our workforce solutions departments are doing. So we do want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Now, I have the privilege of not only representing Starr County as their board member for South Texas College, but also to work with the great people of Starr County in developing their economic progress and in ensuring that community development is part of that. And so I'm happy to share with you all that Starr County has seen an amazing transformation over the last couple of decades, but specifically the last decade. And here recently we have been playing catch up for a lot of development, both on the retail and on the industrial side. My friends on this panel don't necessarily have those challenges, but we're happy to say that during the last 5 years, we have had about $250 million worth of new investment in our community, which for a community like Starr County is extremely significant. More importantly, we've seen hundreds of jobs being created in the area for our local residents. And a lot of that is attributed to the fact that we're able to partner both with South Texas College and Workforce Solutions to not only develop and graduate students, but ensure that we're training them and educating them in jobs that are going to give them meaningful employment. Now, sometimes that means leaving the area, and we understand that. But at the end of the day, what these individuals are doing is that they're becoming credentialed in jobs that are likely not available in our community, but they're investing those earnings back in the area that they live, work, and play in when the opportunity arises. And so one of the things that we did want to share with you today is, we've had about $80 million in the last year of commercial development. We've had about $250 million of renewable energy projects that are under development now that will create about 300 temporary construction jobs for local residents. But one of the things that is unique to our region at this point is we're actually currently in the process of developing $350 million worth of solar projects in our community. We're going to have one of the largest solar farms in Starr County. As you know, Starr County is rich in land, a lot of ranch land that has created some challenges for the landowners because of drought and a lot of different reasons that ranching has become more problematic economically. And so this is generating not only dollars for those families, but extremely beneficial to expanding the tax base in our community as well. And so one of the things that is unique of that solar project is that it has created two different opportunities in our community that we never anticipated would even be in the radar for companies in the tech area. And so we have one pilot project right now that is actually a data center doing cryptocurrency work. And so if you have Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whatever your fancy, there is a chance that some of that is actually going through Starr County for the mining that's happening. And so those are all unique opportunities for jobs for our younger generation that is very much oriented into technology. And as a result of that, we have seen more and more ways to try and use some of the renewable energy that we have in our community and use it for other industries. And so we have a $300 million data center that battery center that is under operation to some extent and under development for its second phase. And we're currently working on another battery storage facility that will help use the wind and solar project that is being generated in Starr County as a mechanism in order to help the grid and to help store that renewable energy for when and if we need it in the future. And so we're excited about that front because it opens up training opportunities and job opportunities for our students and for our residents. But more importantly, it's allowing us to finally utilize this renewable energy in a way that serves our region, because typically these companies will come in and they already have purchase agreements all over the country with private and public sector companies, and now we'll be able to utilize some of that more locally. And so we're very passionate about ensuring that we transform our community, not only through education, but through job opportunities. And so as we're moving forward and we see the great things that Edinburg and that McAllen and Pharr and Mission are doing, we understand, and every other community in the valley, we understand that education plays a significant part, but we do not want to be credentialing or educating students and then finding out that they graduate and they don't have employment opportunities. So we work real hard to ensure that we align those two things. And Starr County is probably one of the smaller partners in this table, but definitely the one that tries to work the hardest. So,
thank you, Ms. Benavidez. Victor, what is going on with your neck of the woods? How are we doing over there?
Thank you so much for the invitation. Ashley did a great job. I called on my secretary all the time, making sure I was going to be here. I had a couple of other events to go to, but thank you, Ashley, we're here. So, I told one of my staffers, can you give me something that I can share? And I didn't know I was going to get 3 pages of all the things we're doing before. And so I just wanted to kind of touch base on and again, Rose, I applaud you, and I've been through Rio Grande City a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I can see the growth, the developments coming, and y'all are doing a great job over there, so kudos to you guys. And so, but before we yesterday, I'm gonna start with yesterday because we were all over the news, I think, and then we hosted a warehouse summit, our first warehouse summit, and we did it because we needed to share with the public, and not only the public, but investors and developers about what's going on in our great city. I'm going to share real quick about our produce park. When I got here, there's 31 lots. I think 2 lots had been sold, and I got together with the mayor. They wanted to hire someone to help sell the lots. I said, we don't need to do that. We'll take care of it. And we did. That produce park is now all the lots are sold. I think we have like maybe 5 buildings to be built. And that evaluation, I talked to the mayor, and the mayor said, are you sure? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm sure. When we bought the park, about it, I think the place value was about $867,000. In 2021, when I did, some research and checked what the HCAT had for $33 million with the buildings that are coming out. So we still have 5 more buildings to be built. And so that's one of the things that we have really been working on, having that we have the #1 bridge and crossings and produce crossings. They've also been all over the news as well. They're very, very busy. And so when you have that type of, partnership with the bridge and the Pharr County Development Corporation, it helps you and the city and the community grow. And yesterday I was asked one of the interviews that I had, what is the benefit? And it benefits not only our city, but it benefits the region. One of the developers that I had not seen this, and it opened my eyes to how important it is and where all these goods that come to the bridge go to. They go all over the United States. Some go overseas. And so we were talking about the bridge, we're talking about all the warehouses that's coming up, and right now we have 3 projects. One's already moving there, 1 million square feet in warehouse cold storage. Then we got 2 others in the yesterday event that we had yesterday. We scheduled 3 meetings this morning out of that, and then they told one of me, we gotta fly back, and so that was a great summit. Some of you that attended, or not you'll see it, but we had three meetings this morning. And so once right now, before I came over, I had to meet one of my staffers there and continue with that investor. So it's doing great. But one of the things that we have very unique here, and I've not seen, is we have other, ports of entry, like Laredo, Benavidez, and so forth. And, but those are, transportation, basically you don't see very much, warehouses. So we asked one of the developers of develop right now, said, what brought you to Pharr? Besides everything that's going on, besides we have the land, besides the incentives that we provide to this, investors and so forth. And he goes, you know what, Mr. Perez? Here we have a market. On the other, ports of entry we don't. And he goes, here, if our goods don't get sent over, and then if you're somewhere else and they spoil, you gotta throw them away. That's the money it's gonna cost somebody. But in the valley here, to the Pharr International Bridge, if we can't get it out there, guess what? We got a market. We can go sell the goods right away at HB, Walmart, whoever it is, but we have a market down here. So that's why we come to this bridge, and that's why this bridge is so important to us and this region. So I was like, wow, I had not seen that. I had not contacted, when he told me that, like, okay. And so this is what we share with us as investors, that there is a market here. There is a market here for them to come in, so their goods are gonna be either gone through or not. As you know, there's now it's gonna be a bridge coming through, the expansion of the bridge, but we have an outlet for that. So we're already planning. The mayor is very visionary. I gotta say, the mayor and the city council, our PDC staff, is we're thinking about, where are we going 15 years from now? So we have plans right now. I mentioned those subs coming, they're coming in today, meeting with those individuals that were here, they want to come back. And so I told the mayor the other day, we worked so hard, we have produce, we have the retail, we have the food industry, we're doing great. So I'm focusing now on the manufacturing and industrial. Why manufacturing? Because those are the higher paying jobs. And so we've been to Monterrey, we're going out to Maryland, Select USA, because we have the incentives, we have the land, we have the context, we have the people that I already talked to, and they're in the game. They want to buy in. When I met with some state and federal agencies, they were like, you know what, we want to be with you. We'll come back and let us know when you're there. So we're that. Going back for job creation, our partners, again, I see STC here. Sarah, and a lot of you, Dr. You're a part of Dr. Solis. I think we hang around quite a bit, we talk a lot. Since Dr. Solis, I gotta say it, since he came in, I saw a very different change. And he's out there, he's out and about, and so that kind of helps us and know that he's serious and the college is behind us and whatever we decide to do, and if we need help, then he's there for us, and of course the college, right? But going back, so we're excited. We have our partners. We have some companies coming in. Right now you'll see in the Park Town Center, which is doing very well. There's a Paris pizza place, and then there right there behind Pablo's, we're bringing a couple of restaurants, 3 or 4. One of the things that Pharr is being known as the first to market. So we have top we have car nights and main event, Papados, and so people know that in Pharr we are open for business, and whatever we bring to the bridge. And so we're excited talking about here Rose talk right now. The workforce, our unemployment rate has gone down. Our sales tax continue to keep going or stable, and so to us that's very important. We need to keep doing BREs. We need to keep making sure that our business, we just don't bring them in. I tell them we're here to the end, and even when you come in and you open your business, I have staff that will continue to be in contact with you, making sure that you're going to be able to succeed, and that's what we want from every business. They succeed, we succeed. Our education partners support STC. We have the PHISD school districts. In Pharr, we have 5 different school districts. We have Benavidez, Hidalgo, India, Vanguard, and PSJ. So very unique. And so sometimes we partner with those districts when we have something. So I created a foundation for a purpose, and it was not just for scholarships, but it was to do workforce development. So with that foundation, we're going to do several of the states that we want to do, and that's do some on-the-job training for the business people, We want to do on-the-job training for students. I was a director, former educator. I started the early college program in the district I work for, so I know how the process works and how we need to get there. So I've been in contact with the superintendent, the PSJ. We want to start with them, and we're probably going to build a program. So we have the only culinary school in Pharr, in the valley. That's the only culinary school. And when I came in, I'm like, why are we not using? We have students, we have people that want to, we've been working with them. I think it's going to be another one of our projects that will be coming out. Hopefully, the PSC students will be the first one that's going to participate, and then after that, we'll include the rest of the school districts that are there. But we've been meeting with the owners, and believe me, you haven't gone, it's on Sam Houston, Dairy Park. Beautiful facility, and when I first saw it, I couldn't imagine why we're not utilizing it and getting. So not only now we're gonna have the school districts, but also we're gonna do also the business community and the restaurants, the eatery places that would want to train somebody and their staff and send them over and get trained and get certified to be chefs. And I talked to one of the business people that are right next to our office, and I said, what do you think? He was like, I'm in. I got one thing, and they have 5 restaurants here now. He goes, I'll come get us and it's not cost you anything. We're gonna pick up the tab. I'm like, I'm in, tell me. I'm interested because I will get that person to come back and then I will train them to do the same thing. And of course, they would be upgrading their menu and the service at the restaurants. And so, that's one of the things. Another thing that I think you all heard and, about our broadband project, the mayor, we had done a pilot program and I was on the school board with the city of Pharr, the PSI school district, and the federal reserve Baptist reserve. And so we did a pilot program where we picked, I think it was 13 families in South Florida. And this was way before COVID. So we kind of already wanted, the mayor already wanted, and had an idea that we needed to do something in South Florida. We did a pilot program, we got 13 families, and we noticed, and we found out that those kids could not do their homework, and whether it was researching, when you get homework, of course, they assign you, especially in secondary, you gotta go and do research for your project. And we found out that the need was there, and we needed to do something about it. And so that was before COVID. Then right after COVID, before COVID started talking with the mayor, and there's a group of people, but after COVID, look what happened. And so the mayor decided that we needed to get together and move on it because a lot of our kids in South Florida do not have that internet service, and so that the project right now is huge, it's going well. The whole city is going to be connected. The school district have already met with the IT department there in Pharr and working to get those school districts involved too as well. So it's a huge impact. So
thank you, Mr. Perez. And I heard foundation. We have a foundation here too, so I'm going to be visiting with you. So get some of those dollars in too. So thank you again for that update. Great things happening in Pharr. Mr. Garza of Edinburg, how are we doing?
Doing well. Good afternoon, everybody. As I'm listening to some of my old friends and colleagues here, I just started thinking about something, and I started thinking about how long I've been in this business, and it's been a while. I actually had hair, color in my hair back then. But I do remember something that somebody taught me one time that talked about what we do, and what we do is selling. We have to overcome obstacles, and the biggest obstacle right now that we all face in the Rio Grande Valley and in our industry is really workforce development, and that's what you guys have been talking about over the last few hours. So I was listening to the previous panel and listening to Julian and a couple of other folks talk about internships and other opportunities in terms of training our workforce. And that has always been kind of probably the last 5 years, the most important factor for companies that are looking to expand and relocate is workforce development. Can we produce the workers that are necessary for them to be successful for the next 20 or 25 years? And yes, we have the lowest median income or the lowest agent brackets, in terms of workers. So we have 29-year-olds that are ready to work. We have a growing population, which is very important for these companies that are investing millions and billions of dollars. And so that's all positive. And I can talk about specifically what Edinburgh is doing. I mean, Edinburgh, when I was growing up here, and I was from Pharr, 15, 20,000 people. We're at 102,000 right now. In the next 4 years, we'll be over 108,000 people. We've got over 4,000 lots under planning or being platted right now. If you look at how many people are in each of those lots, you're talking about another 20,000 people coming in. You know, we're growing at 7 people per week in Edinburg. That's how fast we're moving. And the valley is growing that fast. And we need to keep up with that. And that's our challenge as economic developers, is to try to make sure that we spread that word out to people who are looking for the opportunities to grow. And those opportunities are because of the workforce. So for us, our obstacle is overcoming that. But for the educational system, which is what you all are all about, is to train our workforce. And that's really the most important thing I think that we all have to talk about. Edinburg is doing great. We've got a lot of investment in the medical field right now. Driscoll is building 120 beds or so for Children's Hospital, and they're spending millions of dollars there. South Texas Health Systems just built a new tower and spent over $200 million. DHR continues to grow, and they're all located in Edinburg. The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley continues to grow and have some D1 football. He's up. So that's going to help Edinburg in terms of the quality of life and in terms of restaurants and hospitality. So those are some of the occupations that will be in demand in the very near future. We continue to see a lot of retail, a lot of residential development, like I said. And on the industrial side, we're seeing a lot of growth too, kind of like Pharr. Because of our location, a lot of the logistics and produce companies are saying, we want to be there. We've got 5 companies under contract right now for our North Industrial Park. Our North Industrial Park has about 50 acres left. I'm looking for more land, and we don't have any space left for us to attract new companies. I've heard Keith Patridge talk about that. I've heard Victor and I were talking about it. Teclo and I have been talking about that in the past. We need more space. And so if we're talking about workforce development, we're also trying to reach out to investors and telling them, hey, we've got the workforce, we've got the location, we've got the beautiful valley that we're promoting. So come on down and build us some more buildings so that we can bring in those companies. So that's really kind of a lot of what we're doing. At the Edinburg Airport, we've got some companies that are looking at expanding because they want to try to do something different in their delivery system. You know, we were talking about some of the supply chain issues that happened in the last few years. Well, a lot of companies are looking at ways to try to make that better and more efficient. And so they're looking at some of these smaller airports and saying, hey, maybe there's a play there for us. And I think Steve can probably talk a little bit about that too. So yeah, we're all busy, but again, we have to go back to our challenges and overcoming those obstacles, and that makes us better salespersons. So, Dr. Solis, that's a challenge for you guys, is to crank out that workforce that we can really push and make sure that we can get the jobs out there. But we have to try to keep them here too. That's one of the biggest problems that we have, is that yes, we have some really wonderful students that come out of our educational system, but a lot of them leave, and we've got to get them back. And so that's part of our effort. Raudel Garza knows a lot about that too. And TRGV is working with us on a lot of different projects, and we can't talk about them all because that would steal his thunder. But he and I are going to work on something in the very near future that's going to be very beneficial on the manufacturing side. So, Edinburgh's going to be one of those places because of our location and because of the county courthouse and everything that we're doing, that we're going to continue to grow. I'm blessed to be a part of that, blessed to be part of the valley. And, we've got some really good projects for downtown. Edinburg EDC has invested in an amphitheater. We're investing in a downtown parking garage real soon, right across from the courthouse, which should open hopefully by the end of the year. And then we're working right now on a cultural event center, cultural arts building right next to our city hall, all part of our development in Midtown and downtown Edinburgh. So we do a lot in terms of healthcare and industrial development, but we don't forget the small businesses and we don't forget our downtown.
That's right. Thank you so much. Great projects, good initiatives happening, so thank you for that update. Mr. Valdez, Weslaco, how are we doing over there?
Thank you so much again for the invitation. And one of the set of instructions that we were given was to talk a little bit about our annual reports. And so April is here with us. We brought about 25, not enough for everybody to look at, but we certainly have these that we can hand out and go through quickly. But I won't go through the entire page, but some of the important highlights, and first and foremost, we always like to put at front and center our leadership in Weslaco, and that includes not just our board of directors, but it includes our city government. I mean, I think having the kind of decision-making at the top level helps filter down to the bottom. So when we attend functions throughout the region, whether we're recruiting locally in the state or we recruit outside the state, we are always hand in hand with our board members and our city elected officials that go with us. And so we're excited about having strong leadership in Weslaco. A lot happening with us as well. When we talk about the expansion of the entire region, we're all growing, we're all seeing phenomenal growth. The fact that when you measure the city or the region, Weslaco in the Mid-Valley lands pretty much right in the middle. And so everything is kind of closing in on us, and we're benefiting that in so many ways. We all understand economic development, and if you're growing in all three sectors, that's really the prime thing to be able to see. And so we're able to say that we've got large growth in our retail. If you travel through the expressway from McAllen Pharr to Harlingen, you'll see ground turning and buildings going up all along the expressway. We have 5 projects going on currently where you see buildings going up, earth moving, big moving machinery going in Weslaco. And so our commercial industry is growing, but that's partnered with our residential growth. Victor talked about paperwork. I came with plenty of it also. Again, I won't go through these each individually, but one of the things that we do track is we do track our residential growth. And so we plot the growth within our community to see the type of subdivisions, the amounts of housing. We went up alone, for example, apartment complexes from last year to this year, 964 last year to 1,906 this year. And so what's happening in Weslaco is we're finding more families taking up less square footage, which eventually means that income that family is generating is also going to circulate within our economy. And so we've got the residential growth as well, and industrial growth is happening coincidingly as well. So we are opening our second industrial park. It's roughly 150 acres, and we're about 65% complete with the infrastructure. And part of that growth is already happening as well. So we brag a lot about Glazier's Beer and Beverage choosing Weslaco as their distribution site. So along with the construction of the roads and the sewer and water, the infrastructure, we already have a pad site for Glazier's, 6-inch concrete. It's very impressive, 253,000 square feet. We have a second 10-acre lot that we're still under a non-disclosure, but I can tell you they're in distribution, and it's not Federal Express. So imagine the other. And so we're excited, and then we're in Brown, so that might be another hint there. But we're really excited to be in a position to have all 3 sectors of the community growing equally, because we feel that that's the best way to structure a growing economy. There's certainly a lot to talk about. We've got at least several brands coming into Weslaco. We're certainly not the first in region because there's great development in the Pharr, McAllen, Edinburg area. But those same brands are realizing that there's a market further east, and they continue to grow in the other direction. And they're coming to us first in some cases before they go further east, before they decide to go to Harlingen or Brownsville. They're stopping in Weslaco as well because they're seeing our growth. We're about to put out a commercial that flies over the city of Weslaco, and just in the last 2 years, you'll be able to see drops of all the different choices that have been made to come to Weslaco because of our growth. Anytime that we attend conferences, we take information like this, and what we do is we have at least 6 16 locations here, but with a QR code, you can find out the realtors' listings. So we come very prepared with paperwork. We're excited about what's happening in Weslaco, and we're here to entertain any questions as we go through the process.
Thank you so much for that update. Last but not least, our friends from Mission, EDC, Teclo Garcia.
Thank you, Rodney. And Rodney's saving me for last because he probably wants me to tell the story that he, when I took over in Laredo as Economic Development Director for the city, he actually hired me as part of the board to hire folks in Laredo. And it was quite a battle. Rodney was really in my corner, and it got done, so thank you, Rodney. I appreciate that. But one of the things I learned, actually kind of to the point, it warms my heart that I hear my colleagues to my right here, to your left, to talk about all these assets that they have. And they're really regional assets. I mean, they really are. What Steve is doing, the company that is not Federal Express, what Victor's talking about, and Rose, and Raudel, the hospitals, I mean, those are regional assets. They happen to be in those cities, but the whole valley is really taking advantage of them. And Raudel, if there's no room in Edinburg, well, there's plenty of room in Mission. So send them our way if you get a chance, right? But in Laredo, one thing I learned about Laredo, speaking of the regionalism, is I get there and they said, hey, well, you're from McAllen, you're from the valley. You really need to pick your brain on what's going on in the valley because the valley is really kicking our butt. We need to know what's going on. Little did they know that before I left, everyone here would say, hey, listen, you're going to Laredo, we need to know what they're doing because they are kicking our butt. And so it's really perception, right? I mean, what's really happening and us. But we do have a lot of growth. Laredo's growth is a little bit different. They're very logistics-centric. No manufacturing really to speak of. And their retail is sort of subdued. They have their own challenges there geographically and so forth. But I think the valley really has a leg up. We're 1.5 to 1.7 million people on this side, maybe more on the other side. All that plays to our strengths, all the services that we have, and certainly Mission is right in there. Mission's median household income is about $59,000. That's the same as what McAllen has, about the same as Edinburg, and oddly, nearly the same as what San Antonio has. Don't forget that San Antonio has wide swaths of poverty in poor areas. In some areas, some zip codes have 50% graduation rate in San Antonio. So San Antonio does have its Riverwalk and its Shine and 5 or 6 universities and a community college system, but they're also challenged. They're challenged like we are. But I think with Dr. Solis in place here, certainly Dr. Reed and all boards before have done a great job to get us to that point. But I think Dr. Solis has put in a team in place with Rodney and other folks to really get us to that point where we need to be. And I applaud for your efforts, Dr. Solis, for the things that you've done so far. And certainly workforce is a huge part of what we do. Going back to Mission, we have our challenges as well. But we're doing some great things. We've partnered with McAllen, and kudos to McAllen for helping us finance the expansion. The $88 million expansion of the San Luis Bridge will be completed in 2024. We're going to start working cargo through there, and that's going to be a boon for us. The Killam family, also from Laredo, is developing hundreds of acres of land around the bridge and north, and we've got a lot of prospects there. In fact, we just met with some folks last week about building logistics facilities there, and we're meeting with folks next Wednesday as well. We've got some trade missions planned in Mission. We're going to be in San Luis Potosí, and we're going to be in Querétaro, applying our trade, letting people know that where Mission is, but not just Mission. You gotta remember, a lot of Mexico just sees the valley, or they just think of the name McAllen, and they consider the whole region McAllen. It doesn't really matter to us. We just want to make sure that they know that we're here, and the Laredo's not their only answer when it comes to moving traffic from Mexico to the U.S. The phenomena of nearshoring that Victor touched on is something that's very real in Mexico. What a lot of folks don't know is that Mexico itself is in the Far East recruiting very aggressively for companies to not just come back, to grow into Mexico. But then that poses a challenge to us, to Pharr, Laredo. We have to have bridges. Laredo has 2 more bridges planned that they're gonna build, but they're years away from being complete, like 7 years and 10 years or more. We have here Pharr with their permit, and they're going through their processes, and then San Luis getting built. We want to take advantage of those. If we do, we need workforce training. In Mission, we're based on a few pillars. 1 is attracting investment. 2 is creating jobs. 3 is enhancing the workforce. There's other things that spread from those, but those are our pillars that we work off of. And we want to enhance international trade and create jobs that pay well and create primary jobs. And some of you that apply in this trade know that primary jobs are not service jobs. Nothing wrong with service jobs. We need those. But primary jobs originate incomes that get spent elsewhere. That's not recirculated money. And so we need those jobs. If it's $15 an hour, if it's 20 or 30 or whatever the case is, that's what we're looking for. Truck drivers, forklift drivers, warehouse managers, manufacturers. We need to get to that point, and we're working very hard to get that. We've got a lot of retail coming into Mission right now. Mission has kind of not been on that track for retail development over the last several years, but we're getting there. I'm dealing with like half a dozen folks right now. We've got an Italian chain restaurant coming in that's not named Johnny Carino's. Steve, the way you might put it, and so they're very close. We've got some other things, Rodney, and it's really exciting. But thank you for the opportunity to get in front of a very distinguished group here. Thank you, everyone.
So our